Dear Glory fam, what's going on? What's up? I'm so happy to see y'all today. Happy to be here today on Tuesday. We are actually somewhat on time. we be having to change the time a little bit around because things happen. I'm always having a meeting at 1 o'clock, so I wanted to get in for real at 11:30 CST today, so we can have some time to really just dig in and get into what we actually need to be getting into today. Y'all know what's going on. Y'all know what it is. I'm in Houston, Texas, chiming in from Houston. I went to some really great art events over the weekend. I didn't go to everything that I wanted to go to, but I did get to go to a few different events over the weekend. One was Jamal Cyrus. Are you guys familiar with Jamal Cyrus? Man. And you know what was really cool is he watches this channel. I wasn't even aware of it. I never even had the honor, honestly, to meet him before. He is a Houston legend. And it was just, it was an absolute pleasure to go in to Inman Gallery, located here in Houston, Texas, which I would consider, do I want to say this? I would consider them to be one of the best galleries here in Houston. So if you are looking into Houston galleries, what we got going on here in the city, look into Inman Gallery. I will consider them to be a gallery that is located here in Houston, but does the work and does the honor and gives the gallery, the artists that they're working with, the opportunity to become international, even if they're local. They do the work. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I stand by it, and genuinely nice people that are doing the work with the artists. So look into Jamal Cyrus. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of his work in a little while, but it's some things we need to talk about today. First of all, who's in the chat? I don't see anyone saying anything. Where are you guys? Are y'all in, do I have Los Angeles in the house, Atlanta in the house, London in the house? Who's here? I want to know who's here, who I'm talking to. Let me know. I worked so long to get y'all's comments on the screen. And now that I'm able to do it, I need y'all to talk to me. Anyway, look, we got some things to talk about today because Stephen Friedman closed down. Okay? Stephen Friedman closed down. Another gallery bites the dust. We got somebody on TikTok from Atlanta. We have somebody on TikTok and in the chat from Atlanta. Y'all said it at the same time. I'm actually live on TikTok right now. So this is new for me, to be honest with y'all. I've never gone live on TikTok, but here we are. I'm doing really well. Thank you. I'm doing good. It's Tuesday. I'm not going to go live. I don't think I'm going to go live next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is my birthday. I'm an Aquarius. I'm not going live, I don't think, next Tuesday, but I'm live here today. I'll let y'all know, though. You'll see it pop up if I decide to go live. We got North Carolina in the chat. North Carolina is in the chat. But yeah, look, I feel you. I hear you. And whoa, really is right. Stephen Friedman shut down. They closed down. What does that mean? What does that even mean? Really respected gallery, right? A gallery that has had their own shortcomings, whatever. We know them to have also been in the middle of a lawsuit. I'm not going to go into that because I don't, the folks that they're in a lawsuit with, too much respect there. But yeah, I'm not going to go into it. I thought about it for a second. but I'm not going to do it. Y'all are not going to make me go into it. But they were in the middle of a lawsuit. Anyway, Stephen Friedman Gallery, who was a pillar in London, been around for about 30 years. They shut down. And I guess the number one question that we need to have in moments like this is, what happens to the artists? Yinka Shanabare, Deborah Roberts, Kehinde Wiley, Layla Barbarie. I don't know how to say her name. I've been struggling with saying her name for a while. But they closed down. What happens? And and I just named some of the bigger artists that they work with. But what about the smaller artists, or not smaller, but what about the artists that Stephen Friedman was nurturing? What about those artists? What happens to those artists? What happens to the inventory that Stephen Friedman that they were holding? What happens, right? And I think that we need to take like a real good look at what actually happens to make a gallery shut down like this. And that's why we got to pose the question of, is this an economic fantasy? Is the art world in an economic fantasy? Because what we've seen happen so many times seems to be a lack of business and financial awareness. Now, mind you, I'm not in the business of Stephen Friedman. I don't know what they had going on internally. And I will always be the person to say, I cannot critique an institution or a gallery when I'm not in-house. What I can do is look at a timeline, look at what may have possibly been the reason for them to collapse. And there are actually many things that I want to talk about today, but I'm going to spend some time on this. In 2023, they did an aggressive expansion. Okay. They went big. And 2 years later, they were closing their gallery in New York. So in 2023, they went from a smaller location in London to this flagship, huge space in London. At the same time, simultaneously, they opened a huge spot in New York, all in 2023. So they expanded aggressively, really quickly. 2 years ago, 3 years ago at this point. Okay, we can take that. Looks like everything's going well. If I'm an artist there, I'm like, okay, this gallery it's going good. I'm at the right gallery. They're expanding. Things are going well. I would assume that probably came after the best year of everyone's life, 2020, and the worst year. Crazy, right? Because 2020 was actually horrible on the personal side for so many people. But also for these galleries, 2021 through 2023 was such a pivotal time. It was a pivotal time in the art world. I mean, artwork was selling like crazy. Everything was inflated like crazy. But just like the economy did in the real world, in the real economy, it went up, then it went down. And the same way that we're dealing with it in the real world, we're seeing the effects of 2020 through 2023 in the gallery world. And we've been seeing it, right? All of these galleries have been closing down. I mean, but I think, were you guys surprised? Are you surprised to hear this? When I seen it, it didn't shock me. A bit desensitized because so many galleries have closed down. It didn't shock me. Okay, let's keep going. Late 2025, okay? Super red flag. Super red flag moment. 2025, the gallery announced that it was shutting the New York space. They said it was a strategic consolidation or something like that, right? We went with it. Y'all just opened these spaces. Y'all just went larger in London, then just opened another space in Tribeca. And now you're going to strategically consolidate 2 years later. Good PR words, but we don't have the money. That's the right words. And then February 1st, or February 2nd, maybe. February 2nd, they shut down. They basically went into bankruptcy. And I believe in London, they call this like administration or something like that. What was really telling is they pulled out of Art Basel, Qatar. They were a no-show. They were a no-show at Art Basel, Qatar. Okay? And we have to look at this and we have to be sensitive to the artists that they may owe. Somebody said talk about the lawsuit. I'm not going to talk about the I'm not going to talk about the lawsuit because I don't know. Okay, look, publicly, you guys can Google it yourself. Publicly, the lawsuit was Stephen Friedman. They represent Deborah Roberts. Deborah Roberts claims that Lynthia Edwards stole basically her style. That was the lawsuit. You guys can dig more into it, but the law and Lynthia Edwards is represented by Richard Beaver's gallery. So the closing of Stephen Friedman to Richard Beaver's gallery, which they did repost it on it. And I love Richard. So and I'm not trying to be messy. I'm not, this channel is not about the mess. That's why I didn't want to go here. But these things do happen in every industry. Lawsuits get filed. You can sue someone for anything. Do I think it was a good lawsuit to stand on? I don't know. Because how do in this world, right? Like how do you in this industry claim that someone stole your style? When so many artists are borrowing from one another. When so many artists have the same approach. When so many artists are in the practice of collage. Now, she probably did get a little bit more technical in the aspects of the work that she claims or she feels like Lynthia was taking or borrowing from her and inserting into her work. So she felt like there was a lawsuit there. That's the lawsuit. Y'all can look it up. Y'all can look it up if you guys are, stealing style. Yeah. Stealing her style. That's pretty much the lawsuit. So y'all can look it up. I don't want to get into that lawsuit. I just don't. But they pulled out of Art Basel, Qatar, which I actually wonder if that's a lawsuit in itself. Is it a loss? Can Art Basel sue Stephen Friedman Gallery for pulling out no show? The closure was so abrupt that the gallery pulled out of Art Basel, Qatar just days before it started. I don't know. I actually don't know what that actually means as far as a lawsuit there. And I don't know. And to answer your question, what's the difference between inspiring and stealing? I mean, in the terms of like music and film and these subjective art styles and these subjective industries, what does that even mean? And what does it mean to copyright your style? What does it mean? I don't know. I think that's why the lawsuit was difficult. I think that's why it was a long shot for her to actually win the lawsuit. I think it was because those things haven't been defined in the art world. And I don't want to go too much into it. Maybe we could bring in an attorney to talk a little bit more of the subject, not them in particular, but what could that look like? And what is the difference legally between inspiring and stealing? But I don't know what's going to happen to the artists. I mean, I don't know, if they file bankruptcy. I can't even really go into the financial meanings of that, and some of these conversations, they're not for me. Some of these conversations, I need to bring an advisor in to help me have this conversation. Right. So I'm never going to pretend that I know everything about finance or everything about law. My best friend is an attorney, and perhaps, and she could come in and talk a little bit about this. I don't know. But yeah, do your research. That lawsuit did happen. If you didn't know it happened, it's definitely a thing. And that was really big news a few years ago. So, but it was the perfect storm. They expanded really large, and then they did this strategic consolidation. And that strategic consolidation should have been a red flag to the artists. I don't know what kind of agreements the artists were under. And these artists that I named, like Ahinde Wale and even Deborah Roberts, they have other galleries that they work with. So I think they're going to be fine. I think the artists that we may need to worry about, or if we want to worry about them, but, you know, this happens so often that I feel that galleries, artists should have that autonomy. They should have a plan. They should have their studio needs to work like a business. And they need to think in the terms of, this gallery is probably going into the red. What am I going to do next? You don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's just across the board. That's common sense. So I do hope that I hope that the artists actually had a plan. Anyway, look, what other galleries are going to shut down, right? I mean, I don't even know. What other galleries are going to shut down? I don't even know. But I do know a lot of galleries made a really bad decision. And that's why I have this question of, are we living in this fantasy world? Are folks that's running the galleries, what kind of teams do they have? Like, who is advising them financially? And I would almost argue that galleries that are bootstrapping right now, galleries that are looking a little bit closer to the money, closer at their money, they're going to grow at a more sustainable rate. Galleries that are growing right now, pin this moment, because things are cyclical. They're so cyclical that boom is going to happen again. The boom that we've seen 2020 to 2023, it's going to happen again. Things happen in cycles. Now, it might not be the storm that caused it, right? Like, it might not be the same situation. I pray to God it's not. But another boom is going to happen. Booms happen, busts happen. You have bear markets. You have whatever you call them. What when you have a bear market, it's down. When you have a boom market, they happen. So it's going to happen again. What I hope for artists and galleries is that you pin this moment and you remember, man, in 2025 and 2026, all those galleries closed down. We're going to see it happen again. Give it 10 years. It's going to happen again. Overextending, cash flow, not really. It's going to happen again. Expanding, construction debt, not really being aligned with the market, overpricing, then having to figure out the fact that you just overpriced all of your artist's work based on a boom. And now you in a bust. So now no one wants to buy the work. Bull market. There we go. Bear market and the bull market. There we go. Oh, that stresses me out. Artists don't need galleries anymore. Okay, that's a take. I don't agree. That's a take. Artists don't need galleries anymore. You feel free to expand. I think that galleries are definitely, and we talk about this over and over and over again, galleries are a part of a strategy. What do you want your strategy to be? If you want galleries to be a portion of your strategy, then galleries make sense. If you want galleries to be a part of building, and it depends, what type of gallery as an artist do you want to work with? Why do you want to work with this gallery? Why is the gallery a part of your strategy? And then you'll decide what type of gallery you want to work with. Artists not needing galleries anymore, I don't personally believe is the take. I think the take is, if galleries are a part of your strategy, that's great. If they're not a part of your strategy, then you're probably going in a different type of art career, right? There are many different art worlds and many different art careers. You could very well be you can distribute your own work. Will you be able to show up in fairs? I don't know. It depends on how the fair model continues to evolve and to change. Right now, You have to be some sense of a gallery to show at a fair. So if you don't have a gallery strategy, do you even have the premier fair strategy? Right? And so I think we look at this in terms of where is the artist in the ecosystem, and what part of the ecosystem does the artist want to grow in? And if you want institutional validation, and you guys could take that word how you want, right? Validation is a specific word in itself. But as an artist, where do you want to be? That determines if you need a gallery or not. And be strategic with your gallery. The gallery is not the devil. We gotta not look at the gallery as the devil. You can't look at the gallery as the devil, as a snake, as any of these things. You go into things prepared. You go into things ready. In business, there are snakes everywhere. In business, there are devils everywhere. I don't care what business you are in. I have seen it. I have seen the most evilest things done via business. I have seen many lawsuits. As the entity, as the artist, go into it prepared. You don't know who's going to stab you in the back. You don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you do know. Sometimes you do go into situations knowing that this gallery has a reputation of this, that, and the other. Anyway, I do think that galleries, depending on your strategy, I do think that artists, depending on where you want to be in this art market, I think that you don't need the gallery, but the gallery can definitely and should definitely be a part of your strategy if you are searching for a certain type of career. I mean, yeah, it's not really an old strategy, to be honest with you. I have a Prodigy Trader saying it's an old strategy, but it's not really an old strategy. I mean, not really. It's a very much so current strategy. Galleries are still very active, and yeah, galleries is distribution. If you are a product, if you have a product, not you are a product, but if you have a product, what would be considered to be an old strategy is going to retail, going to Macy's, going to Ulta. That would be considered an old strategy, because what would be the new strategy? Direct to consumer, right? But what you do is and, not or. You do and, not or. So if you are a gallery, or if you are an artist, the gallery is a part of your strategy, and this other thing that is more contemporary, more new, a more new day strategy, whatever you're considering. It's and, not or. Right? I don't know. Maybe you disagree. That's okay. We can disagree. Some other things I wanted to talk about other than Stephen Friedman, but this kind of brings me into this. The majority of contemporary galleries are not economically viable businesses. They are privately subsidized cultural projects pretending not to be. The danger isn't the subsidy, it's the denial. Denial produces bad pricing, unethical pressures on artists, and founders who confuse endurance with integrity. I thought that was a solid take. I thought it was a solid take because a lot of galleries aren't opening necessarily to be the most economically sustainable businesses that exist. Many people, and I want to say this, right? Because it depends on your motive, and it depends on your background. It depends on where you come from. Many things are subsidized, by the way. So that's not necessarily wrong. The thing about it is, a lot of founders have the same passion as the artist, which is typically good. They have the same endurance as the artist, which is typically good. But they don't have the business acumen. Listen. We can go into this over and over and over and over again. But a lot of galleries just don't have what it takes to be sustainable because they don't have the team structure. They're too small, or they don't want to grow as far as adding the team structure to help them sustain. And it depends on the size of the gallery that we're talking about here. But I think this is a good take, especially this part. The majority of contemporary galleries are not economically viable businesses. Go talk to the owners. Go talk to the founders. They're cutting it even. They're struggling just as much as the artists. That's why you find so many galleries not even paying the artists. They took the check and paid the bills. They took the check and paid the bills, and not the artists. You know what was the last thing on the docket to get paid? You know who was last on the list to get paid? The artists. You see it happen all the time. Galleries can't afford to pay the artists, so they pay their bills. They pay the rent, keep the doors open. We'll get to the artists later. They robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's why they keep shutting down. We keep seeing it. And so even going back to Stephen Friedman, I wonder if they paid the artists. I wonder what's going on there. We'll learn more. We'll learn more. So some other things I wanted to talk about, because I think that Black galleries are doing it right, to be honest. And it's not about me being Black. I just think that the way that galleries, Black galleries that are founded and owned by Black individuals, the mentality, I think they're taking a closer look at everything. I think they're taking a closer look at their finances. They're taking a closer look at how they're interacting with community. They're taking a closer look at nourishing relationships. They're taking a closer look at growing, how to grow, in what direction to grow. They're being students of what to do right and what has been done wrong. Okay? And I think that's why these Black galleries, we're not hearing about the Black galleries closing down. They're thriving. They're thriving. The smaller galleries right now are doing the real work in what it takes to actually grow a business. And I think what we're going to see happen over time is these galleries, the galleries that are considered to be small, will just slowly creep their way on up. They're going to slowly creep their way on up because of what they're prioritizing. You have Jonathan Carver Moore, and I want to look at what he said, and I want to also look at what Storm said, Storm Asher. Resilience comes in the question that they asked. Even look at the question, how Black galleries are staying resilient, and not this Black History Month, but staying resilient, period. For me, Stella Jones, resilience has always been both strategic and personal. And how much I love that her resilience is strategic. And that is, to me, telling why these Black galleries are gonna survive and gonna thrive. Not just survive, but thrive. Black galleries will thrive because their resilience is strategic. Period. Point blank. She said, from the beginning, I focused on keeping overhead low, offering works that spoke to a wide range of collectors, and staying deeply connected to my community. You have to understand who you are serving and build accordingly. A gem. This is who we listen to. Her resilience has been strategic and personal. She has kept overhead low, and she's kept her community close. She takes a look at what her community wants, what they need, what they're looking for, and she builds with them while keeping her costs low. She's not overextending. The main thing that keeps popping up with these galleries closing down is overextension. Black galleries are not overextending. They are doing within their means, which is great. Let me see what y'all saying. Oh, we got Atlanta in the house. We got Atlanta in the house. We do love Storm. Let's see what Storm had to say. And then we'll get to Jonathan Carver more. Storm said, for me, resilience comes from a long tradition of care that extends beyond the self. Being accustomed to cycles of oppression and resistance teaches you how to think systematically, okay? And how to care for the world, not just survive within it. That care is what's keeping these galleries going. Caring for the collector, caring for the artist, building community, building real community with the collector, with the artist, with the ecosystem, building real community, building real trust. That is where the sustainability is coming from. But like she said, also understanding oppression and resistance. And it's teaching Black galleries how to think in a way that is resilient. I love it. Jonathan Carver Moore, resilience comes from staying rooted in the long view, continuing to advocate for artists beyond a calendar moment, protecting their labor, and resisting the pressure to overperform or dilute the work for temporary validation. No one here, everyone in this slide, they're all saying, I'm not going to overextend. I'm going to grow steady and I'm going to grow slow. I'm going to grow steady and even if I have big moments, we're going to take those big moments. We're going to take them in. We're going to pat ourselves on the back. Congratulations. And we're going to stay the course. We're still not going to overextend because we don't want to shut down, because we care so much for the purpose of what we're doing, the importance of what we're doing. We're staying so rooted to the artists and so rooted to the communities that our responsibility here is to be resilient. I love it. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Okay. Some other things I wanted to talk about. Robert Peterson. Do you guys know who Robert Peterson is? I would love to show you his work, but he shared this story that really resonated with a lot of people. And he shares stories often. So if you want to follow him on Instagram, follow him. He typically he shares a lot of stories that are relative to his life, but really gives us some insight on his journey as an artist. And I think it's really important for us to like be able to take a look at an artist and their journey and understand how they got to where they are. So let's take a look at Robert Peterson and what he had to say. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he did want to, I'll break it down for you guys because I've read it already. So in 2016, he went to Art Basel with his own money, $30,000. This story is going to resonate with a lot of you guys because a lot of you guys and a lot of us, we just pay for things out of our own pocket. We take a chance on ourselves, and that's what it takes. So in 2016, he went to Art Basel by himself, took $30,000 out of his own pocket and went and did the thing. He had a plan to meet dealers, to meet collectors, to meet folks that could help move the needle for him. And it didn't happen. And I thought it was a really important story because of where he is now and where his work is at now, and the museum acquisitions that he's had, the collectors that are advocating for him. He's in such a beautiful place in his career now. Let me move this because YouTube might want to take that out because I think it's too much nudity. But momentum creates momentum is the point that I wanted to make here. And I wanted to encourage anyone listening to maybe not take $30,000 or maybe, you know what I mean? I can't be the one to tell you what to do and what type of risk to take. I've taken many risks that have led me to where I am, that lead me to where I'm going. And they're calculated risk. And I take a look at my life and see what type of risk can I afford to make. But this was a moment that continued his momentum. And I wonder without this moment where he would be, in what direction. Because momentum creates momentum. A lot of times when I fail at things, I'm okay with that failure, even though it hurts. But I know that momentum led to my next thing. Sometimes we got to keep going to keep going. And I think that this is a true testament to the glory being in the story and not being able to have the glory without the story. So I wanted to share that. And I also wanted to share this story because I want you guys to get to know Robert Peterson. So some other things I wanted to get into. I wanted to show you guys Jamal Cyrus's How You Sound. I really wish all the photographs were up. I took some pictures while I was online. I'm sorry, when I was at the exhibition, and this was Inman Gallery that I was telling you guys about a little bit earlier. And I thought this was one of the most brilliant artworks I've ever seen. Let me make it a little bit larger for you guys. I had a chance to meet him, and we talked a little bit in front of this piece about this work because I couldn't get away from it. I had to be close to it. It did something to me. And the way that he explained this work, my perception of it was, and this is what I told him, when I seen it, the first thing I thought was, are you listening to me? That was my first feeling, is that someone was yelling at somebody as loud as a trumpet, but they weren't heard. And we also talked about the symbolism of shells and how shells carry messages quietly. And he talked about that in terms of historically how messages within the Black community have had to be carried and protected. And I thought this was a really, really, really important work. If you guys come to Houston between February, it's opened already, but between February now and I believe it closes in May. No, it closes March 21st. Please go see this. I think this was amazing. I think this was amazing to see. So I wanted to highlight that. Something else I wanted to talk about, artsy. And I also wanted to talk about this because of Isis Davis Marks, who is also an artist. But I had the chance to meet her a few years ago and just be able to watch her journey and watch her be an artist and a writer and all the things that she has become and that she is. Just wanted to make sure we're highlighting the work that she's doing. So she's highlighting 8 must-see shows of Black art across the U.S. And some of these shows I actually haven't heard of, but some of them I was happy to see. Lanice Howard. You guys know who Lanice Howard is? This is my first time actually hearing about her. I'm not familiar with her work at all. Look, if it's one thing artsy gonna do, is they gonna make their money from advertisement, okay? They're gonna make their money from advertisement. But quick pause, because this changes a lot. I don't even know what fair they're advertising for. They're telling us their booth. Zolo, I don't know. Anyway, the fact that galleries are advertising like this, we're living in a different world. Because marketing is just like, it has not been a thing. But anyway, Lanice Howard. I'm not really familiar with her work, but it reminds me of, the women that she's painting, they remind me of a very specific woman. The way that the hair is sitting on the woman's head, the bigness of it, the way that the hair is curled backwards. This is a woman of the 70s, the early 80s. And I'm not sure the subject in her work, but if you guys are into it, dig more into it. It seems to be astrological in a sense. That's what I'm getting from here. But only looking at 2 different works, I'm not sure exactly what her work is about, but I would imagine that most of her work is centered around the exceptional woman. I don't know. We'll have to look a little bit more into it. Oh, let's see. This is her third solo exhibition with Miami's Mindy Solomon Gallery. The artist presents oil paintings alongside mixed media gouache and color pencil drawings. These deftly rendered pieces use saturated reds, blues, and yellows to create an analogous world where hidden histories, personal allegories, and multiple periods of time emerge. Okay, I seen that. As Howard said in the exhibition press text, the show debuted at an inflection point in the painter's career. Howard's work was recently featured in Giving You the Best That I Got, a group exhibition at the California African American Museum in Los Angeles in 2023. Howard was featured in RC's Foundation's Art Fair for Emerging Artists, and in 2019, Howard received the Women's Painters West Award. I'm Waka Boafo. We already talked about this show. I'm probably going to go to the show and give you guys some footage for it in Los Angeles. Sanctuary. The reason I wanted to talk about this one here is because of Will Maxon. Will is from Houston. He's from Houston, Texas. And also Liwanale Havet. I'm familiar with her because, and also I'm pretty sure Iris is familiar with her too, but I'm familiar with her because of Sierra Britton. If you guys haven't heard of Sierra Britton Gallery, she functions as a nomadic gallery, and she's one of the gallerists that introduced the work of Liwanale to me. And I think I'm saying her name right. I hope I am. But Will Maxon, I've talked about him on the channel before. I believe he also has a show. He sent me the work from a show that he has up at, could be LSU. I believe it's LSU. If you're on, guys, if y'all are on TikTok, get on YouTube because I'm actually showing some work. But if you can't, Will Maxon, Liwanale Havet, et cetera, et cetera. I do want to spend some time talking about Will, but I think I might dedicate a video to him here soon. Another show I wanted to mention was Deborah Roberts at the Flag Art Foundation in New York, and Farili Baez, who I believe is Brazilian black artist, showing at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago. Yeah, so definitely want you guys to check out those. And I kind of wanted to go back to Art Basel Qatar, because did y'all pay attention to Art Basel Qatar? Did you guys pay attention to it? It felt very institutional in the sense of you guys know that Art Basel only allowed the gallerists to come in with one artist. So, of course, I wasn't there. But what it looked like is, it felt like every single booth was a bit of a museum. That's what it felt like to me. When I was looking at it, I wanted to say, this feels like small gallery moments, but they felt bigger than that. They felt institutional on a museum level. So I want to take a look at that. Let me pull it up. Hold on a second. I thought I had it. Okay. So Art Basel Qatar, look at this. Doesn't this feel hugely institutional? Like, I wonder what that experience was. I don't even know what the sales were at Art Basel Qatar, to be honest with you guys. I'm not even sure what the sales were. I don't know how successful it was. I know it's a different way of experiencing a fair. But I think that collectors were definitely open to experiencing this fair in this way, of going into these booths and being immersed into an artist. Okay, so I just looked it up. I wanted to see here what sales actually happened. White Cube. I got my laptop here in front of me. White Cube sold, looks like, I don't even know who this artist is. George Basaltis, but I don't know. I'm Look, I'm never gonna pretend I can say artists from all over the world their names at the heat of a moment. But $951,000 each looks like they might have sold it out. It's kind of unclear. Periton reported numerous sales. No one's saying that they sold their boots out, so that's a different interaction. But I want y'all to take a look at how intimate this looked as well. Look at this. I've never seen anything happen like this at a fair. Maybe. But look how interactive it is. Look how institutional this feels. In the sense of a museum, not a gallery. It's different. It's a different experience. And you know what? I think that's amazing. I think they need to stay in that pocket of being the experience that it is and train the viewer and the collector to come there expecting this, knowing, you know, the intimacy that they're walking into that is different than a fair that you might see elsewhere. It's a different type of engagement from the collector. It's a different type of engagement from the viewer. And I don't think that's bad at all. I think it's going to take some time to catch on. And, you know, I wonder what the gallerists think. I should reach out. And get a better understanding. So we talked about Stephen Friedman going into administration. I did want to talk about Zona Maco. Has it felt like the fairs haven't been exciting? Maybe because I'm not there. But has it felt like the fairs are not exciting right now to you guys? Nothing's like, maybe it's because, I don't know. Yeah, it feels like a calm, that is right. It feels like a calm and condensed experience. And I don't know that that's bad. I think, you know, people are being very careful at the type of headlines that are reported. People are being very careful at reporting specific sales. And I don't think that we're in that frenzy of, oh, this gallery sold out the entire booth. You know, the way that the last 2 years went, people are just being quiet, not egotistical. Unless you're like, what's his name? Salon. He's being very egotistical and loud. But that's a different type of artist, a different type of market. I think they're being deeply educational. I think a lot of these galleries are taking on some of the sentiment that we've seen the black galleries that from their article take on, not going into too much overhead, not taking insanely large risk, being risky, but not in a way to where you're going to lose everything because of this risk. Everything's really quiet. And like you said it the best. You said it best. It feels like a calm and condensed experience. If more galleries offered a new experience, there would be fewer closures. People are bored. You know what? I'm a little bored. But I don't... What's your real name? I need to know your real name because sometimes I don't be agreeing with you, but it's okay. I think that I like your opposing thoughts from mine because it creates this challenge. I do agree with you that galleries need a new experience. Yeah, I agree with that. But I also want to go back to like something that Larry Mensa said at curators paying more attention to artists that could dabble in sound and also dabble in installation, but also dabble in works on canvas and allowing the artist to be all the things that they are. That's going to create experience. That's going to create more experience, allowing the artist to expand and not just focus on works on canvas, works on paper, on the wall, on white walls. Every artist isn't capable of that. So I think that the artists that are will be getting a chance. But I think that people are bored. But boredom, and also that goes back to us talking about art being magic, and art needs to be presented as magic. Like, why is it boring? I feel like the only reason I'm bored is because I'm not there. Maybe. So I need the sentiment from people that are going. I'll get a better sense when I start getting to the fairs this year, when I get to Freeze. But there's just two ways to think about this, right? Does people not being bored equal to sales? Because we got to think about this. Museums may be able to create these expansive moments. Galleries need to sell the work. So artists need to also have acquisitions. They need to sell their work. Does boredom, what are we saying when we saying that we're bored? Are we bored at the work? Are we bored at the experience? What are we bored at? And I think that's something that as a community we have to dig into, and also galleries and institutions and artists as an ecosystem, we all have to dig into what is the boredom rooted from? Is the work not exciting? Is that what it is? Is the work not exciting? Is it that we're not excited with the work that we're seeing? Whether that's on canvas or an entire experience. And if we stop being bored, are we going to collect? If the audience, if the viewer stops being bored, are they going to collect? What does bored resonate as? How does bored exist in your body when you're viewing work? Is it because you're not interested in it? The subject matter? It's not risky enough? Feels like the same old thing? What does boredom look like? The nonlinear art movement is finally gaining momentum. Oh Lord. White people, white walls, white wine, bored. You're bored. You hate it. You need a little tequila. Is that what it is? You need a little tequila. No, I agree. I think that, there are definitely different ways and more ways that we could experience art other than the white walls, right? And there are different ways that we can experience art. And taking a look at that, and I think from a strategic standpoint all the time. So taking a look at who's bored, the boredom of people, knowing that the people that are bored and that are loud about being bored, are they the collectors? Are the collectors bored? The people that are actually continuing the ecosystem, right? Like financially, are they bored? If they are bored, what does it look like to make them not bored? If it's the white walls, do we paint the walls? You know what I mean? And actually looking at, because these are real questions that we can talk about galleries all day, but galleries are just people. They're just people. They're people and they're ideating. They're ideating. They have ideas. They're thinking, do we do this or do we do that? They're making decisions. So is it the gallery's decision, the curator's decision, the artist's decision? What decisions are cumulatively, other than what you're saying, the white walls, the white people, the white wine, what do you change there? Like what change are you searching for in that? More diversity, maybe create a different environment that the art can to be in. And so one of the things that I talk about in my exhibition planning workbook that is not on sale right now, it will be back for those of y'all that keep asking, but art has to, when you are actually actively selling art, it has to be in an environment that says it's for sale. A lot of times artists wonder why their art isn't selling, but it's not placed in an environment that says I am for sale. So there's a line, and the white walls a lot of times is to put a pure focus on the art and to distract from everything else. And so there are these really interesting lines in what we're talking about, and these lines in between entertainment and entertaining people and keeping the focus on the work, right? We could go, into circles on that. Galleries have never been a creative space, just a selling space. And I think that's a really great take. I think that's a really great something to, and all galleries don't follow that. All galleries don't have that. All galleries don't follow that take, right? All galleries don't follow that. Some galleries do consider themselves to be places and spaces where the artist can breathe and live and expand and grow and be creative. But you're right. Okay. Galleries have to sell. They got to sell the work or they're going to close. Everybody got to make money or it's done. And I think we have to like take that into consideration too. Everyone has to make money or it's done. It's over. When you stop making money, it's over. If you don't make the money, you're going to go get a full-time job as an artist. Or what? As a gallery, if you're not selling the work, you're closing. So, you know, there's so many lines in between the choices that you make as an artist, as a gallery. What I keep finding is I work with a lot of artists, and especially in Patreon, where we're talking, and we'll talk. Me and the artist, right? Me and the group of artists. We'll talk about all these things, writing your artist statement, talking about your work. What spaces does your work belong in? At the end of the day, you know what a lot of people want to know and do? Sell the work. They just want to sell it. They just want to sell it. And there are these other variables that they love their work. They have integrity in their work. But when you get down to the nittiest of the grittiest, how about this? I'm going to ask y'all. Do you want to sell your work? Do you want to sell your work as an artist? That's the question I'm posing to you guys. That's the question I'm asking you guys. In pro day trader, a lot of things are selling. A lot of things are selling. But what I think we are struggling with is the work good enough to sell? It's the education. Even pro day trader, right? I'm talking to you, buddy. I don't know your name. I wish I knew your name. But even in the sense of going into spaces where we don't want to be bored, where we need to be in great experiences, what does that look like in terms of the bottom line? Are we going to create this beautiful experience? Because traditionally, now I know you're not one for tradition, but traditionally you go into gallery spaces and they're giving you the white wine and the white walls and the white people, whatever. And if they create an environment where nothing in there is for sale and they're just giving you an experience, how is anybody making money? I know galleries all day long that are making money. They're selling work, but they're educating the collector. I was just on Tate's Instagram page not too long ago. And on their Instagram page, it seems like they're starting to dibble and dabble into education. Controversy don't always sell. Sometimes it does. What is transformative? What is controversial? What is timeless? You are saying things, and here's the thing. Galleries, artists, curators, they are all searching for transformative art. They're all searching for timeless art. They're all searching for work that has rigor. And I'm going to use the word rigor instead of controversial. Because controversial work, it depends on what you're talking about. That really might not always sell, because sometimes it's a little bit too controversial and people don't want to live with it. So you're also thinking and talking about, what do people want to live with? That's not the artist's job to just be thinking about that. Like, you create, right? Like, work, do your work. But everyone doesn't want to live with the most controversial work in the world. Everyone doesn't want controversy as a part of their energy set in their home. That's something to think about. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm thinking through things. I'm thinking through things that I'm sure many people are thinking through in terms of, is the work going to sell? So we talk a lot about artists having through lines and artists giving, artists having given trust to the collector and blah 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 blah. But also, but you know what? I've been to Lester Mark's house 1,000 times, and you guys can see his collection online. He has some things that I would never live with, that are super controversial. He has a very interesting collection. He has an artwork where a little child is being hugged by a pig. It's a sculpture, and he owns that, and it sits in a room by itself. So that work is controversial, and it's sold. But it depends on the gallery, it depends on the model, it depends on the artist, it depends on the model. We have to, as an industry, find the line between where we are in the world in 2026. How does the gallery, how does the institution stay on track with where we are as a society? What entertains us? What keeps us going in conjunction with selling the work? It's and, not or. You feel what I'm saying? It's and, not or. I don't think we throw the whole model away. That's crazy. What do we do also? What's being done right? Because they're not doing, the system ain't doing everything wrong now. We're not going to pretend that the system's doing everything wrong. What's happening right? We need to look at what's happening right and what we can do to enhance that right. I don't know what's going on my TikTok. It's making me put like a puzzle. Sometimes these real-time things are crazy. All right. Look, y'all are bringing me through. Oh, Lord, there's so many comments I haven't gotten to. I appreciate you guys talking back and forth with me. And, I appreciate us challenging one another's our thoughts. And what's exciting is we don't know where this information, we don't know where this is going to go. And what people need to know is that we are collectively thinking about how to make a more exciting art world that is still sustainable. But they might be thinking, we don't need it to be exciting. We just need to make money. Who is they? The people that's thinking that. So, we can go many ways with this. I don't even know what we just talked about today. I guess we stayed on topic. I guess we did stay on topic, right? Were there some artists that I wanted to share with you guys today before we go? I don't think so. Y'all just stressed me out. Do y'all have any artists that you guys want to share with the chat? Let me know. Drop in the chat artists that you guys want to share in the chat. Drop in the chat artists that you guys might want to share. Let me know. Two things can be true at the same time. Pro day trader. Oh my goodness. But you know what? Another thing is we do a lot of arguing and debating in this art world, in this space. But somebody got to put their money where their mouth is. I put my money where my mouth is all the time. I remember right after Gloryland, which is happening this year, guys, put Gloryland 2026 on your calendar, October 2nd through October 4th. We'll be bringing some of the most beautiful, intellectual, sought after names in the room for you guys to give these perspectives, and for them to give the perspective. We're talking from our perspective, but what's really interesting and what would be really exciting is hearing the gallerists and the curators and the artists that are at the top doing their thing, giving their perspective of these same thoughts. And that's what always happens. That's what's happening at Gloryland. So put that on your calendar, October 2nd through October 4th, Houston, Texas. Gloryland is coming back. But yeah, let me know in the chat if y'all have any artists that you want to talk about, that you want me to show. What artists are you guys looking at right now? Thank y'all for letting me know where y'all are. We had London in the house, Atlanta in the house. Was there anything else that I wanted to talk to y'all about? I don't think so. Oh, I did want to talk about the Artsy Vanguard. Since y'all don't seem to have any artists that y'all want to talk about right now that's pressing. We've talked about Danielle Breathwaite Shirley before. And I was preparing a video before I had to take her out of the video, and I hated it. And I mentioned about 7 different artists that I wanted you guys to know in this particular video. It lives on YouTube, and she was the first artist I talked about. So I actually have an entire video talking about Danielle Breathwaite Shirley that I haven't put out yet, or a portion of a video that I haven't put out yet. But I did talk to you guys about her on the live. And you know what? I would actually say that she's doing everything that we're arguing. Everything that we are debating about, right? I would say that Danielle Breathwaite Shirley, she is solving what we are currently debating about. Her work is exciting. It's invigorating. It sits in this crux of truth and controversy. And look, she is actually doing what we're talking about. So we've talked about her before, and her work is like, she creates this work that kind of feels game-like in a sense. And in order for you to be amongst her work, you have to interact with it. And do y'all remember us talking about her? She's amazing. And she talks about her work centers around the idea that trans people, the way that they have to interact with the world, they have to be fearless, but they also have to understand that everything and everyone's not going to receive and accept them. Something around that crux, right? And the way that you interact, the way that you interact with her work is you have to be within it and you have to interact with it. And so I believe like the sense of this right here, I have never seen this installation, but you see how this feels like a shooting game. It's a bit of a shooting game, right? And just kind of look at like how those are guns, and then she centered them with these lampshades. Let's see, maybe I can go to her website and give you guys a better view of what it. Oh, this is a good one. This shows something really, really amazing. You see how it becomes this game, and you have to interact with it. It asks you questions, and the way that she's creating these worlds within the spaces. Now, what I don't know, and she is one of Artsy's vanguards, but then at the same time, you can interact with her work by collecting it. And I think that is kind of some of what you guys are looking for, especially Pro Day Trader. Something that has that controversy that can also be collected. Right? But also she creates these worlds that you interact with. I think she actually solves the problem that we're going back and forth about. We got Toronto in the house, Michigan in the house, Mexico City in the house. Amazing. All right, y'all. I have a meeting at 1:00 that I was supposed to get off at 12:30 so I can get ready for. And just get my mind right for. But I appreciate today. I think today was awesome. I think today was really great. I love you guys. Hey, if you are an artist that wants more hands-on strategic work, and you want to be in a community of artists that's sharing their challenges, but we're also at the same time working through your challenges together, join the Patreon. Join the Patreon. And the link is in my description. The link is in my description. I would really love to have you guys join the Patreon. As you guys can see here, the lowest to join is $3 a month. That's just being a supporter. That's those of you guys that want to see this channel continue. But also, I do morning office hours every Monday morning for people that are in this membership to come have little private 15-minute sessions with me and talk about some things that you have that are really pressing. I had someone come on that has a show coming up and really need to talk about pricing really quickly. It was really pressing. And we were able to do that in the Monday morning office hours. But I also have a calendar full of, you can't see it because it's locked right now, but a calendar full of what's going on in the week. Every Monday we have office hours. Every Thursday we go live on Zoom as a group. And there's also strategy worksheets that you guys can apply to your practice if you're looking to grow your practice in the terms of finding the right opportunities for you as well as selling your work. So many different opportunities that we have in the Patreon. I would love to have you there. If you want more one-on-one support, join Master in Glory and we can meet one-on-one. You guys are y'all are still saying things in the chat. Hey, Pro Day Trader, you are problematic, okay? Great conversation. I agree. Whew. All right, date save for Gloryland. You guys, y'all brought me through it today. But I love y'all. You can't have a glory without the story. I'm working on a video right now that's going to come out tomorrow. So look forward to that. We have another video coming out Thursday. Look forward to that. And in terms of me seeing y'all, if I don't see y'all on Patreon, I'll see y'all next Tuesday. No, I might not see you next Tuesday because next Tuesday is my birthday. I don't know if I want to spend my birthday right here. I might. All right. I love y'all. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.